Hello and welcome back to the Demis Hellen channel, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Arpeggio series. We do one of these every single month, and if you've missed any of the episodes you can check them out in the playlist in the description. Now in this episode we're going to be using a minor scale, so very standard stuff here, but we're going to borrow chords from a neighbouring scale. And I'm going to show you how that can inject a little bit of flavour. It was a request of someone in the comments from a few videos back. So thank you very much for the suggestion. It's going to make things a little bit spicier with this. So we're going to stick to a 4-bar melody. Let's take a listen. Now we know what we're creating. We can look at the preset we was using from the June 3 Transcendentals, which is old school. And there's some really nice sounding presets in here. Some are designed to be the center point of your track, the center point of your melody, and some are background leads. So you can see some of them are designed to add movement and character and just generally open up the depth of your track. So that's what they're there for, but we're using old school today. And let's shuffle over to this section here that I've already prepared to show you the scales. So we're using the A minor, all white notes, A to A. Very simple, teach it all the time here on the channel. And then we're using A major here. So this is the second scale, and we're going to borrow one of these orange notes that are not in the A minor scale to turn that chord into an A major chord. So something that doesn't exist in that particular scale. So we borrow it from there, and it just adds a little bit of flavor, bit of spiciness that some people like to refer it to, and it just generally makes things sound a little bit more professional as well. So if we switch this scale selector to major, you'll see that they are all major notes. So we've got a sharpened C, a sharpened F, and a sharpened G. And you can see there, these are flats on there. But we're working in minor, we're borrowing from the major. So let's jump in here and create the chord structure for this. So we're going to look at this in its simplest form, all chords in their root positions, and we're using a 1. So I'm just going to draw this in and zoom it out a little bit for you. We're using a 1, 5, 6, 7 chord structure there. And that's just referring to the notes in the scale. So this is the first note, this is the 5th note, 6th, 7th. And obviously if you view them in order, that's where they'd be, but I'm going 1 octave down. And what we're going to do is set up the basic chords, skip a note in the scale, add, skip a note, add. So forgetting the orange one, just skipping the green ones in the scale. So skip, add, skip, add, skip and add, skip and add, and then skip, add, and skip, add. So they're the basic chords. So we've got an A and an E minor. So A minor and E minor, and then we've got an F and a G. All right. So we know the minor and major, 2-note gap between minors, 3-note gap between majors. But we're going to change this chord here. So you can see it shows it as a G. I'm just going to transpose this up to an A, which gives you a E minor, but over a G. So really what the chord should be is this at the end. So we're just repeating that second chord. So we're actually got a 1, 5, 6, 5 chord sequence. But I'm going to transpose this up. So now it's an E minor, but it's over a root note of G. So it's just changing it up a little bit, and it just gives it a little bit of elevation at the end. It just gives it a nice flavour, and you can see just shifting one note an octave gives a whole different vibe. Now, we're going to strip these chords down, and we're also going to extract a melody out of these chords. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to borrow that chord. So we've got 2 minors, 2 majors. I'm going to make this second one a major chord, and I'm going to borrow that G sharp there, which makes that an E sharp chord rather than E minor. As you can tell now, we've got 3 notes between them. And that's going to give you this little weird selection. It's very Prodigy sounding. So you can hear how instead of it being flat, we have a nice little sharpened tone. And you can see it comes chromatically because we're dropping a half step instead of a full step. So it just gives it a little bit of a sort of like mysterious tone. It's a bit spicy. And then we've inadvertently made our melody out of this. So let's get this started. We're going to extract this section here. You can see micro movements make a nice melody. So I'm going to take them, copy them, and put them 1 octave up. And there is the top line of our arpeggio. So nice and simple, very fast to pull that out of the chord structure. We're going to break this chord structure down now, and we're going to remove certain notes out of the scale, out of the chords. So we're going to remove the 3rd out of the A minor. So we just got the A and the E. We're going to remove the B. So we just got the E and the G sharp now. And then we're going to remove the C, so we've got the F and the A. And then we're going to remove the B, so we've got the G and the E. And what's happening there is we're going to have a nice closed chord, open, open, and then it's going to open up again because we've got these spaces between. That just gives access for a melody as well. So even when it's arpeggiated, it's giving a little bit of space in the frequency spectrum to add other little bits that shine and just add to the track. So you can see tons of gaps here. So you can just hear how that changes up the whole dynamic of that, removing some of the notes out of the chords. It's experimentational, but if we take that top line off for now, it's still in there. You can see it's here, here, and here, but we're just missing the B out of it now. It loses its edge, so having that top line, which is your melody, I just love that little sort of like half step drop there. And I'm just going to put this in here. And then I'm just going to drag, well, copy in here the pattern. So we didn't go over the pattern at the beginning, but the pattern is just rolling from the bottom to the top over 4/16, as you can see here. 2 bass notes and then the 2 melody notes. So you can see we've already got the first 2 in here. So if we go back to the chord structure, you can see that we've got A, E, and A. A, E, and A. So you can see that's what we're building, and just in 16ths we have got that rolling sort of like upwards arpeggio, very standard. But emphasizing the bass notes here with 2 of them gives that sort of like depth into the melody, but it also pushes those top melody notes into the second half of the bar. So there's only them 2 bits at the end, which are the offbeats. And then we just repeat that across. So we've got that for 1 bar. And then we go to, and not there, we go to the next one and we add the next chord in. So you've guessed it, we're going to follow those chords that we just had. So we go down to the E, because we're on the 5th chord now. E, E, and then you can see B and E. So let's just double check that. We can see we've actually got E and G at the top. So I'm going to switch this round. E and G. So we're getting that sort of half step down. So essentially all we've done is move the bass note and this note here down to the G sharp. That is not in the scale, that is our borrowed chord. And then we copy this one over, we go up to the F. But with the F, if we remember, we have got F and A. So jumping back in, F and A, which is perfect. That is where we want it to be, but just have a listen to how it sounds with that copied across. Works fine. You can see the E's following through all the way here, but we're changing up the chord if we put it here. But it holds a bit of flatness. It doesn't go where it naturally wants to sort of like leap to, which is the F, which is perfect. So that is the chords we're using. And then we can copy this second portion, because we know we've copied this chord, but what did we do? We transposed this note here to the B because we borrowed it from a different part of the chord. So I'm just going to put that on B. If we just double check our chords, you can see G and E and B. So we're actually, for the first time in this, you can see A, E, A. Then we've got E, G sharp, G sharp, F, A, A. So we're using only 2 notes of the full chord, but here we're using G, E, and B. So it's the first time that we've actually made the triad, but inverted. So G, E, and B. And you can see there, E. Here, we need to move this up to G, and we've got the B there. And you can see here, I just missed these bottom notes, put them there. And there we have it. We have a completed melody. It's only 4 bars. You could stretch that easily over 8 bars or even 16 and make a really complex structure. But that is just the basics. I wanted to really get in that chord change, but keeping it simple so that you can sort of grasp, because we haven't done this on the channel before. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Demis Hellen, and we've completed another Arpeggio episode. If you did enjoy the episode and you want to see more, you know exactly what to do to see more videos. And if you have any questions, ask away down in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.